Hi guys, and welcome back here to the development. Today we carry on our series, and if you guys remember, what we did in the last episode is that we created the settings, and now as you can see, if you wait a couple of seconds, we have the player loading how many slots it has. So today what I would like to do here is that I want to actually create the slots. All right, so to do this, what I would like to do here is that I would like to create this as a proper, let's say, function where I can load the items properly on the player. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to collapse this to a function, and I am going to call this fn, let's say load inventory, right? So in the future, I would like to use some kind of, let's say a loading system or something, but right now I don't have. So what I could actually do here is that we can do something like is loading. In this case, by default, it's going to be false, right? We're going to create here a branch or something. Load inventory, right? And if everything is false, which should be the case right now, what we are doing here, because we're not loading for anything else, we get our settings information, so that's fine, right? We get all this stuff, and now what we gotta do here is that we have to basically do a for each on the settings and create the slots. So what I can do here, I can break this information and I can break the items, and I can basically do something called a for loop. All right, for loop, and basically the first index will be 1, the last index will be 10. Very easy, right? One thing, do we need index? Let me just think. Well, anyway, let's just try to do this right now. So what we're doing here is that we are gonna basically create an empty, let's say, item, right? So because this is the first time we load in the inventory, so we don't have anything to add. So what we can do here is that we can add, or we can break, in this case, the inventory slots, and I can add an item. Right now, what I can actually do here is that I need to basically make a st item, right? So the slot ID would be this, and that's it. That's all we gotta do. And we just plug this value right here, right? And we basically are doing that stuff. So later on, what I would like to do here is that to make this more, let's say, dynamic. For example, what I could do here is that I could create a function. In this case here, let's collapse this to, we can collapse that to, let's say, a function, and we're gonna call this fn add item. Of course, that this add item, I don't know why it has this weird name. Anyway, we don't know yet what's the item, so, but what we need is that we need to know the slot ID, so we know where it goes for sure, and we need to add the item. That's for sure. Okay. Now, what I need to do next is that, to be honest, I think I'm gonna do something simpler for now. I'm just gonna copy this because I think I may have some problems if I do like this for now. Let's just try to be more bland about it. Because I will need to know the slot ID and the index to add the item and stuff. But anyway, so right now we add the item. Now what I can do here is I can create here a print, and I can get this stuff right here, right? I can get the length, for example, of this, and I can plug it right there. And now what happened is that when we load the inventory, we should get 12, which is pretty much what we're looking for. So if I go back here and change to a vendor, for example, I get 20. So I get 20 items added to my player. Now, The next thing that I need to carry on here is that I think I would like to do a little bit of some simple UI to basically allow us to visualize those items. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the inventory. I'm going to create a new widget, and here we're going to have the widget, right? So we're going to create here user interface, call this. So I'm going to call here WBP main inventory, right? I'm going to open up the inventory, and then what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to add a canvas, right? Canvas. I'm going to add it like here, which is good. Now for this canvas, I'm going to add, well, for now, I'm going to add a border, which is going to be right here. And we need to basically list the items here one by one. So what I would like to do here is that I want to give an option for the player to basically display a list or not. So you can use different modes. You can use or a list, or you can use the grid system, right? So if you have a list, you can't move items around, but if you use the grid, you can move items around. So something like that. So what we need to do here is search for the settings. So if I do Control P and search for settings, here, what I would like to do here is that I want to create a new enum. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to call e-inventory mode. All right, because you may have different modes. So for example, we have a grid, and then we have a list, but you can also have any other types that you may have for your game. So now on the settings, I'm just gonna add here another one, and we're gonna put it here, and in this case, it's gonna be the e-inventory mode, and this is gonna be inventory mode, right? And now what I can do here, we can leave it as a grid, right? I'm just gonna save all. Now on the inventory for the settings here, what is it? Do we just go back to the data tables and the settings? Now for the player, we can have, let's say, as a grid, and everything else you can have as a list. But for now, we're gonna just create the grid first, and then we can slowly work on the list. All right. So to do the item here, I'm not entirely sure how I would like to display the item. I do have some UI that I want to use, but for now, just for visualizations and control, like when we add the items, we're not going to be worrying about drag and drop yet and things like this. We're just going to be doing the basic add item, remove item, pick up item from the floor, and that's it. And list, and then change the view. Very simple thing. So what I would like to do here is that I would like to create first, I'm going to create here as a border, as I was saying, right? Let's just set a border, something like this. And then inside my border for now, I'm going to basically remove the opacity. So I'm going to go back to the brush size and remove the alpha. Or maybe if I leave it just about 0.5 and change this to black. So it's something like that. We can make it, put this on the middle, 0.5 and 0.5, which is fine. So we're gonna put it right here, and we're gonna put this guy right there. Nice. So now the next thing that we need to do here is that how we would like to display the items. So to display the items for now, we're going to create a generic component that will be used later on to display or as a grid or as a list. It will depend on the choice. But anyway, so we're going to create here a new user interface, and we're going to call this WBP item display. And for now, I would like to display this as a list. Maybe, well, anyway, I'm just gonna, instead of doing that, I'm just gonna do a list, because I may need to do different things for the list that I don't have to do for the grid. For example, the list, it's way simpler. So what I can do is just, let's say, I can add a border, right? And inside the border, I can add a horizontal box, which will have a couple of things. The first one is gonna be an image, and the other thing is gonna be a text, right? And then basically what you like to do with the item. So for example, what I can do now is that align everything in the middle. I can do stuff like stretch, right? I can maybe do desired, yeah. And then what we can do here is that on the tint, just put it black, yeah. And then we can maybe add some opacity for now for something very simple like 0.2 or 0.5, which is good. Now what I can do here is on the left, right, we can maybe add 10. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry, it's the left one. Left on the title, we can add 10. And there we go. We add some 10 space, right? Now, what I would like to do here is that I can call this icon. And here I can call the item name, okay? Make sure it's a variable, and also make sure it's a variable. Everything's a variable, and that's great. So basically what we're going to do here is that for now, we're just going to display, oh, what did I do here? That wasn't intentional. Just display like this, you know. So you're gonna basically, actually we need to wrap with a vertical box, and the idea is that we copy and paste and display all the items in order, right? Just so we have some kind of a visual feedback. But before we can actually finish this tutorial, what I would like to do here before, I'm just gonna go back to this slice, to the item here, is just to create actually before we do this, let's create 3 simple items that we can, for example, now just use it as a dummy item to have some information. So what I'm gonna do here is that on the master inventory, I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna create a folder called texture. Then inside the texture, I will have, let's say, icons, right? And inside the icons, what I'm going to do here is then I'm going to go for this website called gameicons.net, which is the one I always use. I'm going to search for Apple, and we're going to get Apple, and I'm just going to reset the background to download this, maybe a sword as well. I just want to download, you know, 2 simple items that I can use to test around. So if I, for example, drag and drop those right here into my engine, I can save everything. Now the apple seeds, I can start with T dash, and the same for the OTA. So it's just gonna do a T dash and the apple seeds. Now, so let's just create the items, something that we haven't done that yet. And I think we have time left. Yeah, we do have some time left. So I'm gonna create here a new miscellaneous data table, and this is going to be the item, and I'm going to search for the item, right? And this is going to be called DT item, right? Now that we have the item, what we would like to do here is that we're going to add 2 items, right? So actually I'm just going to delete the first one. I'm just going to add 1 for now. So the first one's going to be Apple, and the name one's going to be Apple. Description is going to be something like super red, something, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to add a nice description. Then the rarity of the apple will be common, and that's it, right? So we actually have the table. The quantity is going to be always 0. This is going to be inside the slot, and here we're going to search for T dash, and then we have the apple, right? Now I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to call this sword, and here's going to be sword, and we can call this super sharp. And the next thing that we would like to do here is that we would like to add the sword, and the sword is going to be something like, let's say, rare, right? And I think that it's fine for now. So now that we have a couple of items, what we can actually do on the item itself, which is the display list, is that I am thinking that we could probably extend this from like a master item. So for example, right? So I'm gonna create a new folder called display item types, and then I'm gonna drag and drop this guy right here, move it there, and then what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna pause the video, and then in the next lesson we carry on with displaying the list. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and see you guys in the next one.